Welcome to Protect and Grow with Chicagoland certified financial planner Tim Stearns of TJ Stearns Incorporated. Trust, respect, and results. TJ Stearns Incorporated focuses on comprehensive financial planning and benefits.
And we are here on Protect and Grow with Chicagoland's certified financial planning professional. He is Tim Stearns, CFP, founder of TJ Stearns, your local resource, Chicagoland, for planning guidance and proactive advice for your financial, investment, and retirement future. And we always appreciate it, Tim. We appreciate the time and the information, as I'm sure you're hearing a lot of questions and concerns about the financial system, about the banking system, about the stability of the markets right now. A lot of concern on the minds of savers and investors.
Well, yeah, Peter, I mean, we have a lot going on in the markets and, of course, Washington, D.C. So with the banks and all that. So let's get into it.
Absolutely. Well, before we do, I just want to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, if you've got concerns, and right now, who doesn't, you are always welcome to be in touch with Tim Stearns, with the team at TJ Stearns. They are here as your resource, Chicagoland. Office in Arlington Heights, available for in-person or virtual reviews and consultations. They do offer to do a detailed forensic analysis of your current portfolio, the positions, the investments, the accounts. Bring it all together in a written plan for you. No cost, no obligation. Now, they do aim to help anyone, but some strategies do work best with those who have saved at least $500,000 or more. But if that is you and you would like that plan review or to get your plan put together, this is bringing all of the pieces together, giving you that clear picture for your financial and retirement future. Pick up the phone and just be in touch. 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. 800-640-2256. Have a conversation with Tim and the team there at TJ Stearns. Very non-pressure, just a conversation about your situation, whatever questions or concerns you have on your mind. And then if you would like the opportunity to get that plan reviewed or put together the blueprint for your financial future, the Protect and Grow plan. 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. And by the way, online, of course, tjstearns.com, tjstearns.com, and you can just click the Connect with Us button there. So, Tim, let's get into it. How much of this current mess worries you, and how much is attributable to what we hear and see going on in Washington?
Well, a lot of it comes to play because of, the ability of the Federal Reserve to print all that money that they put into the market. And it created inflation, right? And with inflation comes a lot of different problems. And it's really hard to get the inflation genie back in his bottle after the genie is out and doing its thing. When eggs are $7 for a dozen, there's issues out there. So what I'm talking about is we have people are worried how long their dollar is going to stretch, right? So that comes part and parcel with the fact that a lot of us don't have pensions anymore. A lot of us haven't done a plan. One out of 10 Americans have done an actual retirement plan that takes into effect the different things that can happen to your money during your retirement: inflation, deflation, things being out of control with Medicare, with IRMA, all these different things that are out there. So the bottom line is, if you don't have a plan, you do have a plan, and it's just kind of winging it. I would tell people, give us a call. We'll talk you off the ledge and kind of go through what your situation is and get you some answers that will make you sleep better at night.
Tim, when there are fundamental fears about the stability of our system, the banking system, we saw Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, those banks had systemic problems, and then it spread overseas with Credit Suisse and others have talked about having problems. When we see that kind of issue, what are we to make of that as individuals? It's not like we control banking policy or interest rates or oftentimes even understand the root cause of what happened specifically with those banks.
Well, I think, unfortunately, what happens is that it ends up on your doorstep, maybe not tomorrow, but down the road. And you're going to end up paying for this in some fashion, right? So we need to be able to have a dynamic plan that when the government throws us something like that, where maybe we have to pay a little bit more for something, we can pay into the plan, that might be happening. And that's half the fight is, trying to get ahead of things that you don't really have control over. You have control over your budget. You have control over your guaranteed sources that you're bringing into the house, Social Security, maybe a pension if you're lucky enough nowadays, right? But beyond that, the government can do a lot of things to us. So how do you fix this? Well, you have a plan that shows kind of what you're going to have in guaranteed sources in retirement, minus what you're going to pay, for your different costs of living during the month, and then figure out from there how much money you need actually for retirement.
Tim, I heard another recent on-air interview that you did. It was a fantastic interview. An interesting question posed during the course of that interview. Are you an optimist or a pessimist? And I imagine as a planner, you have to be a bit of both. There are certain things you have to kind of question, well, what if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? But we also have to act and plan as though tomorrow is going to come and be prepared for it, right?
Well, what I think is, I'm practical, right? I mean, I'm not going to sit there and be a Pollyanna and think everything's going to be roses and unicorns and all that good stuff, right? I think it's things like that are, going to cause trouble for you. That you assume that the market's going to do X, Y, and Z is crazy to me, right? A lot of people still don't realize that bonds have risk, so I am practical. And that's why we try to teach in our classes, being a pragmatist, that, the government's not going to take care of us. The onus is on us. The aha moments that I keep hearing from people calling in on this show is, I realized I'm 4 years out, or I'm 3 years out, or I'm even a year into it, retirement, and I'm scared. I don't sleep well at night because I don't know that I have a foolproof plan. I didn't bother to do that, and I should. And that's the people that are coming in to see us. 2022 was a great wake-up call for a lot of people that they weren't Warren Buffett, that the stocks weren't going to go up forever. They have to be a little more cautious in planning for retirement, knowing that the markets, aren't going to always take care of us. So how do you do that? By having an income allocation plan.
Yeah, I think that the real critical key and opportunity here, Tim, is in the planning, right? We need to be more proactive with our planning because there are going to be elements into the future where it seems, is Washington and Wall Street working for us or against us? And those may change and ebb and flow with time. But if we've got the plan for our own personal progress, that is going to give us a lot of reassurance through those times.
Well, I think at the end of the day, you need to be the captain of your retirement ship. And that starts with having a plan and having, a co-captain, which is an advisor that will actually look at the full landscape of taxation, inflation, Medicare, what your retirement assets are in, your risk levels. These are the things that you need to really get, speaking of forensic, down into the details to see what you currently have. I'm shocked by people who come in here who are late 50s, early 60s that have over 80% of their money in stock. I didn't know where else to go. And it was, a hot place to be. Well, it wasn't hot last year. And this year it's been choppy as can be.
And Tim, when we are planning, we've got to take a look at things like legislative risk and taxes and the potential that some of the rules can change on us over time. And when they do, we need to have that resource that's paying attention to help us plan and to recraft the plans and strategies that we might have in place.
Well, when you talk about legislative risk, one of the biggest ones is the Secure Act, right? And then the Secure Act 2.0 comes out. There's a lot of stuff in there that I think 90% of Americans don't know about it. The 10% that do know about it don't know it into the intimate details that are in there. As you and I have talked about, there is not a transference in wealth that the government really wants us to have anymore. That 401k, that IRA is meant for your retirement. Due to the different rules they put in. For example, if a husband and wife pass away, whoever the beneficiaries are, whether it be their children or not, has to drain those accounts within 10 years, including Roths, which I'm going to say that again. It includes Roths. A lot of people are wondering, well, that kind of took away that transference of wealth that I thought I could go a generation, of no taxes. Could you imagine that? Well, they don't want that anymore. So we are looking at a different landscape that people need to realize that there's been big changes. And that's why I tell anyone who will listen to me, come to our class. You can even Zoom it, and you will learn a lot of information that will help you in retirement.
A great reminder, Tim, you hold these regular classes all across Chicagoland. In fact, all across the country. You're holding them in Arizona and Florida, but primarily here in and around the Chicagoland area, making it very convenient for savers and investors to attend, also offering the ability to do so virtually. What are some of the important takeaways that you see planners leaving this class with a better understanding of, and therefore hopefully more confidence in addressing issues moving forward?
The number one bill they're going to have in retirement is taxes. And they have some opportunities right now, depending on where they're at. I have a new client who took the class, and we just talked the other day about that he wants to work within that 12% tax bracket, right? Because we have 2023, 2024, and 2025 on the books right now, that there's a nice area in there in the 12% tax bracket that maybe he could do some Roth conversions. So that was one of the things that was one of his takeaways from the class. The other thing we're finding is that people don't understand what IRMA is, which is the Medicare surcharge based on what you make in retirement, how much they will charge you for Medicare. And it can be, I've seen couples come in here with $700 a piece for their costs, and these are things that they didn't plan on that. So we are trying to show people the information that you need to get through a successful retirement, because you really only get one shot at it.
Speaking of Medicare, and I'm going to include Social Security and Medicaid in this as well, a lot of discussions about the problems with those systems. Tim, what are we to make of that as we are trying to plan and prepare for our future financial security in and through retirement? Does this just mean that we've got to do better, more careful planning for ourselves?
Well, I think that you're in your late 50s, early 60s, Medicare is probably going to be okay for you. I also think Social Security will. It doesn't run out of money till 2034 at this point. But I will tell you, and we've talked about this, and that omnibus bill that they passed late last year, not one mention of it. Over 2,500 pages of information in there on different things that they addressed. But that was not, Medicare and Social Security were not any of the topics. So they keep kicking the can down the street. At some point, it's going to come home to roost, just like inflation has. They're going to have to hit it head on. So, yeah, we are definitely concerned about that. One of the things we'll tell people is that, when are you thinking about turning on Social Security? And if you do, do you realize that it affects your spouse too? Because a lot of people think that if, God forbid, something happens to one of them, Social Security, stays on for both. No, one of them drops off. And so these are things that need to be in a plan too. So there's a lot of missing information out there. And that's why we try to educate as best we can.
And again, if you would like to attend any of those classes, find out when the next ones are available, you can do so on the website, tjstearns.com, tjstearns.com. That's with an EARNS, TJ Stearns.com, like earns at the end. So easy to remember there. We're talking about money. Or if you would like to, maybe easier, just to give a call, even if it's just to lock the number in your phone so that you can call back again later and find out more information. 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. 800-640-2256. And those upcoming classes and workshops, lots of additional reports and literature and resources available on the website. Or if you give a call, including the Countdown to Retirement, a set of fantastic reports that Tim has put together for you, ladies and gentlemen, covering a gamut of issues in retirement and just providing some food for thought on how to address several of these risks that we face. And Tim, again, as you are assisting people in putting together plans, the questions that come about from the market and from Wall Street and from Washington do abound, because we're worried about things like the debt ceiling debate affecting further market volatility. And will we come to terms and keep spending? And even if we do, is that really a good thing?
Well, what they've talked about is that, they're going to somehow come to an accord that will, reduce the deficit, right? Trying to reduce it over the next 10 years. I don't see a lot of their, it's more taxation, right? And that's kind of an issue with me is that, the only way to fix it is to tax people more. How about being a little more frugal and a little more on top of what you're spending money on? And I think that, if I ran my household or if you ran your household like that, we'd be on the streets, right? Living,
Sure.
out of our
Indeed.
cars type of thing.
Yep.
So I'm
if we
saying,
even still had a car.
right. Yeah. If you even have that, and you probably won't be able to afford the gas to gas it up. So that being said, I think that they, their solution always is to tax more. So I know what taxes are right now for the next 3 years. So maybe this is an opportunity. The lowest income tax brackets we've seen since 1920 might be time to maybe look at some Roth conversions. We've talked to a lot of people about, but I mean, I think the debt ceiling is definitely an issue. Hopefully, things change a little bit in DC that they can actually start to come together on it.
They have not really addressed spending in my recollection of or lifetime, Tim. That national debt is a scary big number. But I do always like how I think you are an optimist, or at least you put on that hat when talking about these difficult issues, because you always talk about the fact, well, there is opportunity here, opportunity
Absolutely.
to plan for taxes over the next 3 years. Why is that window so specific, Tim?
Well, at the end of 2025, the current income tax laws will sunset or go away. And they're going to go, at this point, they're going to go back to what they used to be before Trump put them in. Okay. So that's one thing. The other thing is that will stop, it will reset, is the federal state tax down to $5 million. That's something that to me looks like they're coming after the upper middle class.
So Tim, if we've got maybe $2 or $3 or $4 million today, maybe not a big issue on our radar that, hey, we're going to have these serious implications of estate taxes, but over the next 10 to 20 years, if that money is to grow and then changes are to occur, that very much could so become a major issue for us to tackle.
Well, we have a slide that we talk about in class, and I show $1 million in a 401k, and I say, how much of this is yours, right? And people start picking it apart. Well, taxes, I'm going to have to pay for this. I'm going to have to pay for that. So yeah, to your point, that is definitely something that we are concerned about. So, these are things that come into play when you're talking about retirement. So if you want to have a plan and a dynamic plan at that, because my gosh, things are changing by the minute, you definitely should come give us a call. We'll be happy to sit down with you and kind of see where you're at.
I, again, want to encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, to get in touch with Chicagoland's certified financial planning professional, Tim Stearns, CFP. Makes it very easy, no cost, no obligation to have a discussion, to have a sit-down review and strategy session, looking at your accounts, looking at your assets, talking about your goals, making sure that they are in alignment, putting that plan together, a blueprint for your retirement, the Protect and Grow plan. 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. 800-640-2256. I heard a comment, Tim, that maybe it is just a coincidence, but it is not to be overlooked that the amount we have in national debt is just about the same amount that we have in tax deferred, yet to be taxed retirement accounts. Did find that kind of an interesting coincidence. Does that have you worried at all?
That's very ironic that they're already that those numbers match up. That's scary to me. I think that everyone knows that we have a hockey stick of debt, and they're going to fix it by taxation. And that, we have opportunities right now that people should be taking more advantage of. Taxes are only going to go up. When I asked that in class, I've never had anyone say no matter where I am in the United States. So why not take a look at some things, to make sure that you can maybe stymie off some of those taxes.
And then the de facto tax, Tim, that has been called the silent thief, but over the last few years, not so silent inflation. How do we address this question of inflation in planning for retirement? Because it does specifically impact retirees maybe harder than it does the working American, correct?
Exactly. You're working with a fixed amount of money, correct? I mean, that's the problem. You are, most cases, a net seller of assets in retirement. Whatever you had on your last day on the job, you're not funding it anymore. If anything, you're pulling money out, or, you might be losing money in it. So the only growth you'll have is if the market goes up. And I think most would agree this year is going to be pretty rough. Kind of 2 steps up, 3 steps back type of thing. So that is the problem with inflation. It is the silent thief. And we show examples of it all the time in class of what something cost a year ago versus now. How do you stay ahead of that? It's very hard to do.
Those protect and grow plans, Tim, can you speak to how they address the potential for market risk and how they also help to address the expense of taxes?
When we're doing an income allocation plan, of course, we price in there inflation. Unfortunately, lately, we've been having to put at least 4% in there, because right now it's at, kind of hyperinflated at around 6. I think it's going to, in the 2025, they said it should be around 4, which they keep hedging on. They don't want to take that bet to be a certainty. So I would, we take that into play. So to show people that, at 4%, your money needs to double every 18 years, using the rule of 72. If your money's not doubling, then you have an issue. And I'll tell you what, you're not going to double it from having Social Security cost of living adjustments.
Well, again, I think that a lot of this is kind of a problem created by the solution itself, right, Tim? We had the Great Recession, which was a result of the banking system lending out too much money, but the solution for that was let's print more money to make our way through it. And then coronavirus and COVID came around, and again, the solution, let's print more money. And as a result, we've seen this inflation. So maybe not more money, more problems, but more money printing more problems for us, right, Tim?
I feel like the printer is broken at this point.
They're just hitting the zero button. They're just adding, it's digital now, the digital
right.
printer.
Right. I don't think that they're actually wanting to print too much more money because they've created their own debacle. Right. So, and, that being said, you need to figure out how to get through it without them doing that. I don't think the stock market's going to do real well just because of the fact that, there's no money in it. They're not pumping the money, the stimulus and all that type of thing into the market. They've kind of taken the fuel off the fire. So you need to be concerned about, if you're going to be the person that's going to buy and hold in retirement, it's a whole different ball of wax out there. You cannot, the buy and hold ended in 1999, in my opinion. We've had 5 pullbacks. How much more do I need to tell you that? 5 pullbacks including last year. So if we're going to be in retirement, we need to make sure that we have some stop losses and some active money management.
So, Tim, I think that there's a lot of concern across America, and rightfully so. How does somebody know if their plan is reliant on some of those status quo adages and strategies versus if they have a plan that is more modern and addresses today's issues?
Well, I'll say this. Most people don't have a plan, so I'm starting from scratch. But if they do have a plan, they'll have some sort of a hypothetical from an advisor that told them that they're going to make 6% for the rest of their life and that they'll be fine, or they maybe need to save a little bit more, but they will be fine at the end of the day. I ask you, anyone out there listening, have you ever had a stock market go up 6% year after year after year? No. The usual pullbacks every 7 years on average, right? So we had a 13-year bull market. It was a great run. It was long in the tooth and it's gone away. So you need to ask yourself, when is the next pullback? You're living it right now, in my opinion. So we need to make sure that we're going to be head on a swivel and knowing that it's a different world than it was for your grandparents, where the market went up for about 100 years, with some pullbacks, but nothing drastically like we've had in the past 22 years.
Well, again, we are speaking with Chicagoland's certified financial planning professional. He is Tim Stearns, CFP, host here of the Protect and Grow radio program and founder of TJ Stearns, a planning firm aimed at helping you understand and address today's biggest risks and concerns and having a plan that provides lasting financial confidence. Now is the time and opportunity to plan, ladies and gentlemen, and you do have the ability to reduce or eliminate unnecessary market risk, to control your future tax liability. Now is the time to look at these strategies. Certainly pick up the phone, give a call to Tim Stearns, CFP, 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. The fantastic offer and opportunity available to you is to get that plan put together, no cost, no obligation. Take a look at the Protect and Grow plan and then figure out for yourself how to move forward in this financial and economic and political environment that leaves us with so many questions and so many concerns. Tim Stearns, they're putting the plans together each and every day for Chicagoland area savers and investors to provide more and lasting confidence. 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. Tim, we do always appreciate the time here on the program and the sometimes difficult conversations.
It's my pleasure, Peter. I love digging into it.
Tune into Chicagoland Certified Financial Planner Tim Stearns' full radio program and visit tjstearns.com for many valuable resources, including other great episodes of Chicagoland Retirement. Be sure to subscribe.
Securities offered through TJ Stearns, a registered representative of Crown Capital Securities LP, member FINRA SIPC. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature, not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs.